back, we're live, it's Thursday, ooh. And that means we begin our broadcast day with Aloha United We Stand, which is one of my favorite shows because I meet very interesting people who are committed to helping the community, and it's all about that. And today's show is called Breast Cancer Awareness in Hawaii with Melissa Howard, who is a survivor, may I say. Mm-hmm. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, yeah, let's talk about exactly how you got here. I don't mean the driving or the parking. Let's talk about how you got into our studio.
Okay. Well, it started a while ago. It'll be a year, November 6th. That was my last chemotherapy treatment. I was diagnosed with invasive ductal carcinoma, triple-negative breast cancer in 2014. Found the lump myself. I had just was recovering from a marathon, actually. And
you're an athlete.
Mm-hmm. And I was sitting on the couch and had an itch, and there it was. And
you felt a lump.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, bad moment.
Yeah, it was a bad moment.
Because you knew.
Well, you know, instinctively, I thought, this is odd. I didn't know what to think, really. But I made an appointment with the doctor and went in a week later, and that was an interesting conversation.
Mammogram first, though.
No,
Didn't need a mammogram.
Well, she basically said to me, she felt it, and she said, "Oh, you're way too young for this. It feels benign to me."
How old are you, Melissa?
I'm 40. Mm-hmm.
Now the world knows.
Yeah, so I didn't think that was a good answer from the doctor. So I pushed the situation, and they ordered a ultrasound, and that's what they knew right there, that it was cancer. And then I had a lump, or not a lumpectomy, but a
mastectomy?
No, no. I can't think of what it's called. Biopsy, thank you. Yeah. Then I had a biopsy, which just everything started rolling from there. And I went to MD Anderson in Houston, Texas, and got a second opinion, and which made me feel more comfortable because I knew that I was in good hands over here getting treatment, because they said the same thing. They reinforced what they said.
You just wanted confirmation of that.
Yeah, yeah. So then I came home and...
You would do it again. You would go to MD Anderson again, just to be sure.
Yes.
Okay.
And I came back here and had a year of grueling chemotherapy and radiation.
A year?
Yeah, because they spaced it out. I had a really aggressive treatment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Invasive, you said. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ductal. Mm-hmm. It's problematic. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be if you don't catch it.
And scary.
Very. Extremely. Yeah. Life-changing. Very, yeah.
Okay, so you had a year of a combination mm-hmm. of spaced out mm-hmm. Chemotherapy and radiation. Mm-hmm. And how was that year? Poor.
Yeah, but I chose to really look at it positively. I didn't feel like I had any other choice. I was definitely not going to give in to the situation, and it changed me in a lot of really positive ways.
Explain.
Made me stronger. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I believe that women, maybe in particular, I don't know, it could be everybody, but I think it made me reflect on who I was in previous years. You know, I was all about my career. I wanted to make as much money as possible. I was, you know, focused on things that probably weren't as important as I thought they were, and very stressful. I was somewhat of an extreme personality, you know, extreme athlete, you know, marathoner, Spartan races all the time, just, you know, go, 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 go. And yeah. I would do workouts. I didn't feel like it was a workout unless I felt nauseated, those types of things.
Did you feel that this aggressive lifestyle that you had in some way contributed mm-hmm. to the disease? Mm-hmm. Really, what's your analysis?
Well, I pushed myself so much, and I never...
So stress.
Yeah.
You created stress.
I created stress for myself that I didn't need.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was the person who would go run 12 miles and then go have 3 martinis afterwards.
Well, you know, there's a certain balance in that. It reminds me of a picture somebody sent me of a guy running in a marathon. I want to say it's in China, and he stops for a smoke break.
Yeah, that's crazy. That would be very difficult. Yeah, so just things like that. And I had to change my priorities. And I just look at everything differently. I'm just so
Were you
appreciative.
working and functioning during this period of a year?
I was for a little while, but then I took time off.
Yeah, it's getting you down. I mean, physically.
Yeah, and your immune system is really compromised when you go through that. And at the time, I was working for Hawaii News Now, and they were
As a
incredible.
newscaster?
No, I worked internally. I was in the sales department and marketing, and I did all sorts of things for them. I was on air. I did whatever they needed me to do. They were incredible, supported me every step of the way.
That's great. That's really important, yeah, because that helps you. You need a support system.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I know this well from my own family's experience. And women benefit by being involved in a support system. I mean, the people who supported you, they benefit. The survivors who supported you, they benefit. And you now, I can tell, you are also helping others, aren't you? That's why you're here.
Yeah, it's nothing you want to be known for, but if I can help someone else, even a man. I just did a midweek article, and there was a husband and wife there, and the husband had gone through breast cancer. That was a shocker. I thought, wow, I didn't know men got it, but he did.
Yeah.
Went through chemotherapy and everything.
Wow. Yeah, that must have had a profound effect on him.
Well, it was wow. I mean, the thing about cancer, it has no demographic, you know?
Yeah,
It's
the demographics
total-
are only probabilities, but
It's
it
a
can reach
mystery.
anywhere.
It's
Yeah.
a mystery, yeah.
So, did you ever have surgery?
I did. I had what they call lumpectomy.
Lumpectomy.
Where they remove the tumor.
Okay. Wow. So, I'm really curious. I'm just going off curiosity here. You're
Yeah,
making me curious. You know, during that year where you were looking introspectively, how did you change? I mean, now you've found a more poetic, perhaps, a more giving lifestyle, a lifestyle that wasn't pushing yourself so much, and it changed you. You think the change is permanent, or? Yeah. Well, tell me what it's like now. What's your daily life now?
Things that used to bother me or get on my nerves or irritate me or get to me, they don't anymore. I'm so appreciative of everything, you know, of the rainbows, the wind, my family, my children, my grandson. I'm just so grateful for everything. And I look at things differently. Before, it was more like the forefront of my mind was work, you know, clients. That was so important and such a priority. And then my family came after that, and, you know, it was just my life. And now work is not a priority. I mean, I say that wrong. It's a priority, but it's not like my number one priority anymore. And as a result of that, I'm better at it, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Because I'm just more confident and relaxed in what I do.
You worry about slipping back into the old frame of mind?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes that will come. I say the old me will come in, and I know it though, and I'll just. You're not welcome anymore. Yeah. And just a lot of factors. Spiritually, I'm much more in tune. Personally, things like that.
Did you find religion here?
Well, I was raised in a spiritual family, you know, but I was like 1 foot in, 1 foot out type of person, and that's changed. It's important.
Now it's all in. Yeah. So I sense there's a certain recognition of mortality involved in this process. I mean, not only from what you're telling me, but from what I already know. Can you talk about that?
Oh yeah, that it's something you're forced to think about. I can remember looking in the mirror, not recognizing myself, and
Because you were so beat up by the drugs and all that.
yeah, I didn't have any hair. I had no eyebrows, no eyelashes. At one time, I was a model, you know, and that was such a big thing growing up for me. Oh, you have to be beautiful and pretty, and oh, you have to weigh this much, and all the pressure and all this. And then I found myself, all I had was my soul and my spirit looking at myself. And I weighed about 80 pounds, and I thought, wow, I look like I'm basically dying is what's happening. Hopefully I can survive this. And I knew I was going to. So when you have those moments, it's, nobody thinks they're going to die. Nobody wants to die. Everybody lives their lives not focusing on death. They're focusing on their life. And, you could get hit by a bus this afternoon. And you know what I'm saying? I mean, nobody knows when their time's going to be. I just think that people when they go through this type of disease, they're just a little bit more, I don't know, they're a little bit more connected to that.
Yeah.
And then after you're done with the treatment and they say, okay, good luck, right? You just like jumping off a diving board. You go to your appointments, you get checked up, you do all these things, but then you could have a headache or something can kind of set you off and you think, oh God, is it coming back? So that's another hurdle that you deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah, I can imagine if you're 80 pounds and look in the mirror, you don't look so good, you wonder if you'll ever be better. Mm-hmm. You wonder if it's going to get you in the middle here. Mm-hmm. And then when you get through with it, you're never really sure where you are on that unpredictable demographic. So how do you feel about that? I mean, do you feel that you will live? I suppose part of this is what the doctors tell you in terms of probabilities, but you feel you will live a normal old age life?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, that's the goal. I take extremely good care of myself. I cut out a lot of different things in my diet. I thought I was healthy before, but now I'm healthy. I mean, I think. I don't eat any sugar of any kind, honey, nothing.
As an athlete, you were not as healthy as you are, in terms of your habits now. Mm-hmm. Huh? You're better disciplined now than you were as an athlete. Mm-hmm. That is saying something. Mm-hmm. I want to take a short break, Melissa. Mm-hmm. When we come back, I'd like to talk about your advice.
Okay.
And specifics. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's Melissa Howard. She's a cancer survivor, and it happens to be Breast Cancer Awareness Month this month, the month of October. And celebrating is maybe the wrong word for it, but we're celebrating that special month.
It's a celebration. Yeah.
And we'll be right back, and we'll talk about what she might advise you to do if it happens to you. We'll be right back.
Aloha, my name is Josh Green. I'm a senator from the Big Island. I work in the ER there. But on Tuesday afternoons, I get to come and spend 45 minutes to an hour with Jay Fidell and the ThinkTech staff. They're terrific professionals. They help us to bring some of the leading cutting-edge topics here across our state to you. So you can join us at our show on healthcare in Hawaii to talk with leaders from across all the spectrum of health in our state, or you can join us for any other show where we talk about economic development or tourism or some really eclectic programs too. So really, we'd love to see you here on our show. Thanks for joining us and thanks for supporting us.
Okay, we're back, we're live. We're here with Melissa Howard, and she is here as a speaker, I suppose, for the American Cancer Society. And this is Aloha United We Stand, and the American Cancer Society is one of the various charitable organizations that is supported, at least in part, by Aloha United Way. And so we were talking about the experience that Melissa had, profound indeed, leaving profound changes behind. You can't make this stuff up. It's profound, changes your life, makes you look inside, makes you appreciate every day all the more. And there will be an enormous number of women in this country and the world that go through the same experience going forward. And so it is a real mitzvah. Mitzvah means good deed. Where you can talk about it and give them advice. So I'd like to go into that. You spoke about leading a really clean life, which you know more about now than you did before, and that means two things I pick up from this discussion. One is avoiding stressful situations, not letting yourself get, push yourself to get all stressed out, and the other is eating, I suppose, what you ingest. Can we talk about how you're, what advice you would give to a woman who maybe doesn't fully understand those things?
Well, I think everybody has a different belief system when it comes to those types of things. When I went through my treatment, I was trying to gather as much information and do as much research as I could for myself to be as healthy as I possibly can. And I know that stress for any disease is negative. I know we can't avoid stress completely in life because we live in a fast-paced, crazy world. But I think that there's ways to alleviate stress, and there's also signals that your body gives you.
Example?
Well, you're in traffic and someone irritates you or cuts you off, or you're at a dead stop or whatever it is. You know, you can tend to let it get the best of you, and you get irritated and frustrated. And now I just acknowledge the situation. I'm sitting here, it's trafficy. What could I do with this time? And so I'll listen to music, or I don't worry about it. There's nothing I can do. I can't change it, right? I mean, it's not going to change. Why? I'm only freaking myself out, so I knock it off.
Mellow is the word of the day.
Yeah, mellow out. So that's been a good change for me, because I feel like I'm sort of in control of that. I feel like the only two things I'm in control of is my attitude, and what I put in my body is another one.
Well, let's talk about your attitude. Your attitude would be, I'm not going to get stressed out over anything, even if people are nasty, mean, inconsiderate, all that stuff. I will just take that in stride.
Yeah.
This really changes the ordinary person, because then, you're actually giving something to the world by not participating in all the anger and frustration.
Very true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you become a model.
Yeah, I do want to be an example.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
How about, I'm very curious on the stress thing about, I know you researched it. As soon as you described your diagnosis, I knew you were one of those breast cancer survivors who read every book and every article, right up to the latest literature, never took anything for granted, learned all the nomenclature and so forth. But have you looked into the question of the relationship of stress and inflammation and the development of cancer cells?
That's the key word, inflammation.
Yeah.
All those factors, stress, causes inflammation in the body, grain, sugar, all those types of things that are not natural, they really aren't, cause inflammation in your body, and cancer cells feed off of that. So when I learned that, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to be changing a few things. So I do a lot of yoga now. I used to think that was really boring. I was so energetic that I just would get bored, like, please, can we get over with this class? Thinking about 10 million things. But now I really enjoy it, and I try to be in the moment a lot more. And that's been a good practice for me. It's been really good. And swimming, things that are more mellow. I still do the other stuff, but I kind of try to balance it out. And with food, I'm a firm believer that what you put in your body is pretty important.
It's what you get. It's what you get.
Yeah, what you ingest is what you are. But so I don't eat any sugar at all, no honey. I don't even eat agave or any of that stuff they've come up with, stevia and all those things. I don't have that either. It has the same effect in your body as sugar. So a dessert for me will be like a date with peanut butter on it. It tastes like a candy bar.
Yeah.
Just a little
Do you have desire, craving for the old way?
Not anymore. I used to.
Do you see this? You used to after the cancer? Interesting.
It was kind of like a little difficult in the beginning, but my fear conquered that.
Yeah.
Like the fear was, I would rather have a craving and not do it than do it and be afraid of what the consequences would be.
Yeah.
Even though it might be nothing, I've worked myself up to this state of mind.
It's a reasonable kind of state of mind, though.
Yeah, I think so. I think it does make a difference.
Especially if you've been threatened already so profoundly.
Yeah, I believe it makes a difference. I think that not eating any rice or grain or of any kind is a good thing. Alcohol, that used to be my thing. I'd come home from work, oh, I'm gonna have a cocktail or, relax myself, something. And that was hard. That was something that was, to be honest,
You don't have
was.
any alcohol now?
No, I do. I allow myself a drink or two, usually one on the weekend.
But that's
I'll let
it.
myself have a glass of organic wine or.
So do you believe, Melissa, that had you been following these rules before, I mean, it would have been tough for an ordinary person in an ordinary life, even not a compulsive life, an ordinary life, to follow all these rules. But if you followed these rules about remaining mellow no matter what, about, being very careful with your diet, this would have been avoided?
Yeah.
Wow.
My lifestyle, there's a lot of contributing factors, I believe. I was living a lifestyle that isn't the healthiest.
Yeah.
In other ways, too.
Yeah.
Which I'm not going to divulge about it, but it's more personal.
Yeah.
And I think I personally do believe that, yes.
Interesting. And now, it sounds to me like your belief is, and it sounds justified, that if you do the thing the right way, if you lead a good, healthy lifestyle this way, avoiding stress and thus inflammation and eating right, you are going to improve your life expectancy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And that's why you do it, because if you're worried about a recurrence,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the way you cut off a recurrence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good advice to women, men, the
Yeah.
whole enchilada. We live in a world of toxins.
Absolutely. Every day we're breathing it. I mean, if I can have any control over any percentage of that, I'm going to. I can't comprehend how some people would go through this and not make any changes.
Yeah.
That is a mind blower for me.
Let's talk about the drugs that follow. I know there are drugs that follow the original course of therapy that you take in breast cancer, and you must be on some drugs now, eh? No, how interesting. And maybe they've changed it.
No, it's because there are different types of breast cancer, and 90% of breast cancer is hormone derived. So it feeds off of hormones, and so to block the hormones, there's women who take a medication or a pill to prevent it from reoccurring. I don't have that. I have what they call triple negative. So they check for 3 different hormones when you're diagnosed, and mine had none of that. So mine has nothing to do with hormones. It only accounts for 10% of diagnosed breast cancer. It's very rare and it's very aggressive, and they do not have a lot of information on it yet, unfortunately. But they're working on it. The good news is that although I'm not taking medication to prevent reoccurrence, supposedly, the likelihood of it coming back, if it's going to come back, it's going to come back quicker, and usually in about a 2 to 3 year time frame.
Because of your special kind. So that means you have to watch like a hawk.
Right. So if it doesn't come back in the next 2 to 3 years, the good news is you're pretty much, they say, cured, because chemotherapy is so good for it.
When did you have the treatment? How long ago was that?
My last chemotherapy treatment was November 6th, so it's almost a year next month.
And so you have, what is it? Traditionally, people talk about a 5-year period, but it's not. Is it a 5-year period you're concerned about, or less or more?
That number is becoming kind of it's a very strange thing, the 5-year. That's more based on, as opposed to survival, it's more based on whether it came back or not, type of thing. Mine's a little bit more unique, where if it's going to come back, it usually comes back within 3 years. And if you get out of that window, you're looking really good.
Yeah, it's probabilities again. You don't foreclose the possibility, but the probabilities are better.
Yeah, very good.
Of an ordinary life expectancy.
Yeah, very high, yeah, which is a good thing.
This is scary stuff, though, to have to make this analysis and consider yourself in that window and wake up every morning thinking, well, okay, another day that I don't have any indication of a recurrence. You know? Scary. But it makes you a bit of a martyr. What about your family? How has it affected your family, and how has your family responded, and how does that work now?
Oh, gosh. It was a gift for us.
Really?
In a lot of ways. We're much more connected than we were before. We were kind of like, I'm going this way, you're going that way. We have so many things going on. And we still have a lot going on, but we don't take anything for granted. They feel I'm much more present than I've ever been. We're just much closer in a lot of ways. And we spend a lot of time together, a lot more quality time together. We do a lot more together as a family.
It's all positive.
It's
That's great.
It's been totally positive.
What about during the dark days, when you were 80 pounds and no eyebrows? What kind of support did you need? What kind of support did you get? Was it adequate? Would you ask for it to be some other way now, retrospectively?
No, I feel like everybody played their role that they needed to play for me. Friends don't know how to deal with it. Some friends you think that are going to be there for you all the time aren't, and the ones you least expect are. It's really interesting. And they don't know how to handle it. What do they? All you can ask for is positivity and support. I mean, my family was amazing. My husband was at work all day. There was a lot of time where I was by myself during the day. My sister came from the mainland and stayed with me for a week, which was wonderful. My mom came. The American Cancer Society would call me out of the blue. Like when I needed it the most, I would get a phone call from a volunteer who went through the exact same thing, who's been cancer-free for 15 years. And when you hear that, it's like, you've been through it. I mean, it's different when you talk to someone who's been there as opposed to someone who hasn't been there.
Yeah.
Because
then you can only understand it if you've been there.
Yeah. I mean, it's all good, but I'm just saying that those conversations are like, it's just reassuring. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
What help did they provide for you? I've been there. In fact, we made a movie about the American Cancer Society and their place out there in New Orleans.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. It was very interesting, and have a great regard for that organization. But what did they do for you? You said before you were in a class of some kind. Did they give you, what kind of support did they give you?
Well, at first, I didn't even know how they got my phone number, but I can remember one day where I was just sick and wasn't in a good place, and I had a phone call out of the blue, and it was a volunteer from the American Cancer Society, and they do placement. They have certain people call people that have been diagnosed with the same stage or the same type or the same age group, so you have this commonality that you share. And I had a couple of women that would reach out to me every so often and just see how I'm doing and, just to talk. I know it sucks to be bald, It's just like, you can talk about it. And your hair's going to grow back. And I couldn't imagine my hair growing back. It was like, really? It is? Oh, I'm going to be like having hair again? And I couldn't imagine. And so I'm really grateful.
Yeah, they're very caring, aren't they, over there? I mean, it's personal.
Yeah.
So I want to take a short break again. We come back, I want to ask you about how you deal with the doctors, not only the trip to MD Anderson, but in general. And I want to ask you, what reading, where can people go if they want to educate themselves about this?
Okay.
That's Melissa Howard. She's a cancer survivor. This is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And we're talking about breast cancer awareness in Hawaii. Here on Aloha United We Stand. We'll be right back.
Aloha, I'm Kili'i Akina, president of the Grassroot Institute and host on Ehana Kako, a weekly program on the ThinkTech Hawaii broadcast network. Ehana Kako means let's work together. Think of the sad alternative, let's not work together. Here in Hawaii, with all of our diversity and the richness of the people, it's important for us to come together around issues on the basis of what's right and what's good and what's going to serve the common good. And that's what we try to do at Ehana Kako. Every week we interview movers and shakers, people in government, business and other sectors of society to talk about how to create together a better government, economy, a better world here in Hawaii that can bless the rest of the world. I thank you for your attention to ThinkTech Hawaii, and we look forward to seeing you every Monday, 2 to 3 p.m. on the ThinkTech Hawaii Broadcast Network. We're Ehana Kako, and we wish you well. Aloha.
We're here with Melissa Howard. She's a breast cancer survivor, and we're learning her story. I really appreciate your candor, your coming down, and speaking for all the people you have helped.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. So I wanted to cover in this last part of the show, I wanted to cover, how you deal with doctors, because they're only, doctors. I'm sorry, they put their pants on one leg at a time,
So
as
true.
the case may be. And sometimes they're warm and fuzzy, and sometimes they're not, sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not exactly as right as you'd like them to be, and sometimes they explain to you, and sometimes they don't. There's risks in being a doctor in terms of a patient, especially one with a life-threatening illness. So what can you tell us, what advice would you give us, all of us, including women who have breast cancer, about how to deal with this whole slew of doctors that you have to deal with?
Yeah, you get thrown into the fire. I mean, you're like, all of a sudden you're diagnosed and you're like going to this doctor and this blood test and that. I mean, take it from someone who wasn't a doctor person, I was like, whoa, it was very
What is your training and education?
overwhelming. I am marketing. I've been in, sales and marketing leadership for a long time.
So you know how to read and write.
Yes.
I guess that's a wild guess. Okay, so you're overwhelmed.
Yeah,
with
you're
the
totally
doctor.
overwhelmed.
What kind of attitude should you have in dealing with the doctor?
Well, my situation was really sort of interesting and unique. When I was first diagnosed, it was a family doctor, and I had only met her, I think, once for something. I think it was a cold or bronchitis. I don't know what it was. I had something. And that's the only time I ever met her. And when I found the lump and I went back, she was so vague about it and just didn't take it seriously at all. And that's when I realized I have to be my own advocate with this, because if I had listened to her, I might not be sitting here right now.
Yeah.
That was not a good experience. However, when I took control of it and went to Houston to MD Anderson, they definitely knew what they were doing. The place is known for breast cancer research. They're one of the top, in fact, they just partnered with Queens here locally. That place was a cattle call. It was scary.
MD Anderson.
Yeah, the number of cancer patients was just
They
alarming.
come from all over.
Yeah. Had to be there. I'm glad I went, but it was not an enjoyable situation.
How hard was it to go there? I mean, you just pick up the phone and say, "Hi, I'm Melissa. I want to come over." How do you do that?
A friend of mine who went through breast cancer is the one who recommended them. And I called them and I just said, yes, hi, my name is Melissa. I live in Hawaii. I don't know how this works. She just asked me to fax over my health insurance, my driver's license, my medical records. And that was a whole trip, getting all that together and scanning it over and making sure they have it. And then they look at it all and they tell you if your insurance will cover you to get treated there, which was a whole other scenario.
Did yours cover you?
No. So I went as long as I could, and then I got sent back. I came back to Hawaii for my treatment. But it was I'm very happy I went because, again, I was able to have a second opinion and trust the treatment that I was getting here. So then when I came back here, I was feeling so overwhelmed still, but I was ready to do what I had to do, and because I knew that after the treatment was over, I was gonna just be as healthy and ingest and do cleanses and all this other stuff. And so I said, yeah, let's go for it. So my oncologist, which is here at Straub, amazing. I love him.
You want to shout out?
Dr. Randall Liu at Straub is incredible. Yeah. He was always very straightforward. He never candy coated anything. he thinks I'm extreme with with things, but he's fine with it.
That, suggests to me that maybe part of the advice you would give is, don't candy coat it for me, doctor. I want the real deal. Let's talk human beings here.
Yeah. What would you do if you were me?
Right.
That was, I'd said that at one point in a conversation in Houston. I just went like this, and I said, look, if this was you, what would you do? Because they give you all these choices.
Sure.
Oh, you can do this. Oh, you can
It's
do that.
maddening. Choices,
Yeah.
and they don't tell you which one to pick.
That's why I said, well, what would you do if you were me?
Yeah,
I
good
mean-
question. Yeah, important question. We only have a minute more, but I wanted to ask you also about reading. It's clear that you did a lot of reading here. You're familiar with the terms, the processes, the medicine. Where did you go for that, and how valuable was it, and how much could you individually make of it without having to go test it on a doctor?
Well, I would give advice to women who are going through this to not focus too much on the internet, because the internet can be a scary place.
Yes.
However, on the flip side, there's also a lot of good information. So I feel that if you're finding a lot of negative, just turn it off and go away from it, and do something that feels good. I looked up a lot of European websites, because they do different types of cancer treatment. And I found out a lot of different, herbs, things that are cleansing for your body, good for your blood, for your oxygen levels, things like that. I went to the bookstore, walked around, and I just picked what resonated with me, what I was looking for. No negative material. I know it's a negative situation, but it doesn't have to be all the time.
Yeah. You made yourself an expert. It was your favorite subject. You were dedicated to it. You applied yourself. Am I right?
Yeah. It comes to your life, yeah.
Yeah,
You need to.
It's a good reason. Okay, well, take a minute now, will you, Melissa, and tell the women what you want to leave with them in this conversation. What would you like them to carry away? The women who, are still in the, in the survivor mode, the women who are, being treated, and the women who may be treated in the future. What would you say to them?
I would say, don't be afraid. Don't let your fear overcome you. Fear is just a word. It's a natural feeling to have. But don't let it overcome you, and just push forward, one foot in front of the other. Do not, just keep going and know there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and you have people to support you, and you're beautiful no matter what you look like, because you're going to look normal again at some point, I promise. Even though I don't look totally normal yet, but and just take care of yourself. Treat your body like a temple. It's all you have.
Yeah. Take care of yourself. Treat your body like a temple. Thank you so much, Melissa.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Melissa Howard, thank you for coming on our
Thank
show.
you. Thank you.